Or I don't want to train this 5-star high school quarterback who acts like a little softy, and I don't really want to be around him and his dad.
Right. We're really excited to have Quincy Avery, who, in my opinion, and a lot of other folks, is undoubtedly one of the most prominent quarterback trainers in the country today. He's the founder and, more specifically, the developmental mastermind behind QB Takeover, which is his training company focused on quarterbacks and their development. He's trained some of the best in the game, right, including Deshaun Watson, Josh Dobbs, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, and many more. I say Josh Dobbs because he's obviously one of the highest names in the media today. Quincy's helped generate more than $20 million in scholarship money for quarterbacks across the country. And when you put that into perspective, my scholarship at Notre Dame was worth $300,000, right? So that's more than 65 athletes on full scholarship. Quincy's had over 140 athletes go on to receive scholarships from the Division I and Division II levels, and has trained close to 1,000 clients. My burning question, right, is what are his NFL clients' contracts worth today? We can get into that. And then final but not least, Quincy's also a QB mentor for Elite 11, the premier high school quarterback camp, as well as a loving father who enjoys spending time with his daughter. One daughter, right?
One daughter.
Love it, man. Love it. Welcome to the podcast, man. Appreciate you being here.
Nah, I appreciate you having me on.
All right. First, man, I want to start out talking about and discussing the success that you've had as a quarterback trainer in a world full of quarterback trainers. It's a saturated space. So just want to know how you got your start in the space, and then kind of what differentiates your training from others.
Yeah, so, I mean, as you know, probably better than others, how saturated quarterback training is. It's one of those markets where there's no barriers to entry. There's literally nothing you have to do in order to start training a kid today and getting their parents to fork over a good deal of cash in order to get into it. So that makes it a market where there's a good number of people who really don't have any idea what they're doing. Like, they just don't know. There's people who've become very, very successful, made a lot of money, trained a lot of high-profile clients, and even those guys did not really understand what they were doing. They were just out there like, shit, they kind of fell into it and got lucky, got a couple guys, and just went from there. And no knock to those people, but I think that training quarterbacks is something I'm truly, truly passionate about. Like, I spend time researching, finding information, going to the best rotational specialists in the world, all those things to have continued education and make sure that I'm on top of the craft. But in terms of how I got started, I was very fortunate to get started with Josh Dobbs, somebody who you mentioned earlier. So I came from college coaching. I was coaching at UCLA. Mm-hmm. When I got done coaching at UCLA, I decided that I wanted to start training quarterbacks privately. And from there, I just started reaching out to kids. So I reached out to kids nonstop, trying to find a quarterback who would train with me. And I did that for over a year and a half. Like, I would go to Starbucks in the morning and I would reach out to every kid, middle and high school in the Atlanta area. And then finally, this isn't working, right? This is not working. This idea that I have isn't working. I need to find a way that I can attract somebody and attract somebody that's good. So from there, I'm like, okay, let me create a camp for the best 10 quarterbacks in the Atlanta area. And from that camp, no one came, but I reached out to Josh Dobbs, and he's like, hey, I can't come to your camp. Can I start privately training with you? From there, Josh Dobbs and I basically started training 3 days a week, 4 days a week at that point in time, and then grew that into getting on the Elite 11 staff, and it really took off from there.
How old was Josh at this point?
16, but he was getting ready to go to his junior year, didn't have any scholarship offers, so he wasn't like, I knew he was good. Like, I watched a lot of high school tape. I knew he was talented, but he wasn't at the point where schools were like beating down the door or really wanted him, and was fortunate to help him get to that point.
What would you say differentiates your training, right? I think when you talk about a saturated space, people have their marks, right?
Hmm.
What would you trademark within your training, and hopefully you're able to disclose that. But
Yeah, and I kind of just talk about like the overarching principles of the things that we do.
perfect.
I think that there's a lot of quarterback trainers who want to like make everybody feel really, really comfortable, both in their training environment and telling people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite of that. So in our training sessions, it's usually pretty difficult. And even with NFL guys, and sometimes it might turn people off. Like,
Right.
this is more difficult than what I would experience somewhere else. And that is very intentional for us. So we want to create the most uncomfortable environments possible. And from those uncomfortable environments, you will be able to, like when game times happen and the coach is yelling at you and fussing at you, you'll be able to handle that because you went through all those things in our quarterback training. And I'm not somebody who's like a yeller or fusser. I just try to make drills really difficult, but make them very game like, right? So
Right.
understanding why you're doing something, understanding how it's going to come up in a game, understanding how you're going to use it to be successful. Now let's make it really like now you're going to be really tired. Like we're going to add more and more stressors to all the things that we do in order for you to become the best version of yourself. And for some guys, they really like that. They see the value in that, and we work. There's some guys
Yeah.
who don't, and I'm not for them, but well, I pride myself in this is not being for everybody. Like I don't
Right.
care that everybody doesn't want to come train with me. I don't want to train everybody. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with some really good guys who make a lot of money, and and it's put me in the position where I can be like, I don't really want to train this kid, or I don't want to
Yeah.
train this 5-star high school quarterback who acts like a little softy, and I don't really want to be around him and his dad.
Right. No, I remember you talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's so important, right? Because even as a founder of a company, when we're talking to an employee or something, and you give them a task to do, one of the things I love to do is tell them why they're doing it, and show them an example of this in motion, and how it's going to help propel the company forward. And so it's the same thing. I think when I watch some of the breakdowns that you do on social media, you're able to relate a drill that you've used and then show a clip of it, right, in real life, going through game footage and showing someone stepping up in the pocket, right, and then being able to square their shoulders, get it back where they can deliver a good ball on point, right. So I think it's those things that go a long way when it comes to quarterback training, man. So uh, I guess my next question for you, Q, is which one of your guys would you say you've been able to make the most impact with, right, from their level of quarterbacking play? I think you talk about some of these big name guys, and I think it's no secret that they've already had that talent within them, right? And I think you help to pull that out of them. But from point A to Z, you've seen the biggest growth, I guess. Which one of your guys would you say?
So I mean, the easy answer for that would be like Josh, because seen him since he was 16.
Yeah.
The most dramatic impact that we have with anybody, I think, would be Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts going into his pre-draft process, people were projecting as a fourth, fifth round quarterback.
I remember.
And then just the leaps. Like even if you watch him at the beginning of Senior Bowl, right? The way that he was throwing at Senior Bowl, which for some people who don't know, Senior Bowl is an all-star game. They select quarterbacks too at the end of their senior season. Well, players, every position, but at the end of your senior season, you get to display your talents against other guys who are soon to be drafted. Jalen struggled pretty bad. And there was people who came up to me at that event like, "Are you guys just gonna work on quarterback? Like, is that?" And the answer was yeah. And not only did he just work on quarterback and being the quarterback in the NFL, but he dominated every single day. And
Yeah.
seeing somebody work that hard at everything that you tasked them with every day they got out there was no more fulfilling thing than to see him go in the second round. So just think, fifth round to the second round, how much
Right.
additional money you're going to make, right? And then
Right.
he went on to become the highest paid quarterback at one point. Like so, just that maturation between the end of his senior year to all the things he's doing now, so cool.
Yeah.
And it's really like when you get to hang your hat on something, you're like, boom, got to see Jalen do that, and that to me meant more than anything else.
Yeah. How is that success? I mean, it's obviously translated, right? But like, give people who don't know him a little bit of insight into his mindset, right, and the way that he approaches his day to day. And you can kind of just tell a little bit, but like you've obviously had the chance to work with him
Yeah,
one on one.
people see. So like what you see in those post game interviews, Jalen Hurts at the podium, that seriousness, that thing that he gives you there, that's every day. Jalen, when I say this, I mean this in a very positive way when I say this. He's the most challenging person that I've ever had to coach. And he challenges you to do a better job every day that you're coaching him. He's not someone, he's really who made me start like really drilling into the why we're doing everything that we're doing. He wants to know why you're doing the warm up. Why do you do the warm up in that order? Right? What are we doing today and why are we doing like those questions? And you really had to be on your P's and Q's every time you went on the field. You couldn't go out there.
You can curse, bro.
Okay, man. Yeah, I'm trying to not do it. Yeah, like he made you be on your shit every single day. And I was challenged to be the best version of myself every day when I went out there and coached him. Like if he wasn't in that way, that serious, tough ass dude every single day out there, I'm not sure that he would have gotten the most out of me. Like I can say that I got the most out of him, but he got the absolute most out of me every single day that he was there. And you really relish those opportunities to work with somebody like that because it's unforgiving. He's going to tell you exactly what it is at the end, like that wasn't good enough. But he also gives you the opportunity to let him know those things. He yearns to be coached. And I don't think that there's a lot of young people out there in that way. Like Jalen is thirsty for knowledge, and whatever he can get, he's going to take the most out of it. Whether it's you, me, like anybody who can give him something that's going to help him propel himself to the next level, he wants that information. And to me, those are the best kind of people in the world to coach.
Yeah. So I had obviously a list of questions, Q, but you bring up a bunch of points, and we had the chance. I'm gonna just jump around, man. We had the chance to chop it up in California at the Elite 11 this past summer with crazy amounts of talent, right? That was out there with us, from Heisman Trophy winners, and now we have 2 Heisman Trophy winners that we were in the presence of: Caleb Williams, now Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix was out there, Tualia. And then you talk about the transfer portal, right? I forget the graphic I seen, but some of these guys, I mean, Michael was a transfer, Caleb is a transfer, Bo Nix was a transfer,
Jaden's a transfer.
Jaden's a transfer. So you talk about the willingness to be coached from guys like Jalen Hurts, Jalen. I don't know if you just said that or Jaden, but both of them were transfers.
Yeah.
But we spoke about it, right? And you was like, all right, some of these guys are going to be coddled, baby. That's kind of the landscape of the space right now. But I know, Q, you voiced your opinion on social. You're also pro transfer portal, which I am as well. You're pro NIL. So do you, like, what's the balance, right? Like, what's your stance right now with guys, all right, not getting their immediate situation or not getting what they want out of their immediate situation and then going to seek another opportunity, right?
Yeah, there's so much that goes into that, though, right? And I see a lot of guys who are transferring for different reasons that I think is public perception. So you'll see somebody who maybe is a redshirt freshman or something. They end up leaving or transferring from that school. It could be a few reasons, but a lot of times what I find out is these coaches are so dishonest with people that it makes it very, very difficult to go through your career with. If you can't be honest, like, and tell guys what's really going on, and I think that college of coaches have come from a world where they could tell guys really whatever they wanted, and it would put them in positions where they just couldn't do anything else. You can't leave. So while this guy's here, I'm just going to tell him stuff, and who cares how it shakes out? Like, when he gets his opportunity,
right.
If he's been working hard while he's here, then it'll work out. But now they don't have to wait till they get that opportunity. But the coaches could save those relationships. They could keep that guy on their roster if they just told them the truth from the jump. And understand that you'll miss some guys in recruiting, right? There's some guys you just won't get if you tell them the truth. They got to be okay with that. Instead, they start lying to guys, telling them stories and fabricating things. And the kid does not want to play for them. You got situations like that. And then you got other situations where it's just bad coaching, right? You have coaches who, I shouldn't say they're bad coaches. They're bad at communicating effectively in order to get the guy who's playing there to play at the level that he hopes to play at. Jaden Daniels is something like that. He did start as a true freshman. He started as a sophomore, but he wasn't that good. Immediately when he got to LSU, he was better. It wasn't like he had this dramatic jump in how he got better coaching. Someone was able to accurately get him to see things the way they wanted to see it and help him understand the why every time he went to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of coaches who can't do that. Sometimes you need to leave. He didn't leave because he wasn't a starter. He was a starting quarterback. He went to a better opportunity. And every single one of these coaches will go to a situation where they're getting a better opportunity to provide for themselves and their family.
And their families, right?
Yeah, so I want these kids to be able to do the same thing. I'll never tell somebody to not transfer because like the outside perception or any of those things. You should transfer for the right reasons. But if those right reasons are present, then you need to go do what's best for you. And in terms of NIL, go get as much money as absolutely possible. There's so few opportunities for people across the world to make $1 million when you're 20.
Right.
Like you make $1 million when I'm 20?
Crazy.
Exactly. If this school is going to give me $1 million and give me the opportunity to go to the NFL and make more millions of dollars, I'm doing it. Yeah, I might sacrifice a little bit on the front end if I have the opportunity to make hundreds of millions on the back end. But all things equal, give me the money.
Yeah. There's a lot to unfold there, right? But I think what I wanted to go is kind of, so you think Coach Deion, his approach is a good approach, right? Where my roster might be 50% depleted by within a month, but I have guys who are fully committed, and I haven't lied to them about the potential for them to play and earn a starting position on this team because I've been completely transparent and honest, right? Like that's the day and age that we live in.
Right? Yeah, there's so many college coaches. I'm not a fan of Deion at all, like 0%. I am a fan that he did that. Like people took that as a negative that he went and told these guys, "Hey, you're not good enough to play for me. You need to leave." I took that as a positive. I would have rather him just do that in their interviews with the coaching staff at the end, not bring them in there and have them cheering like, "Yeah, I'm about to cut your ass," but yeah. Like that was lame to me. But as a coach, he's always someone who's very transparent with guys. He's truthful in that way. And he's giving guys an opportunity. Yeah, you're not going to play here. You may as well go somewhere else and get that opportunity. And guys tried to fight for that opportunity to play there. They still weren't good enough, and that's just how it works. But, yeah, that transparency, I think, is one of the positives that Deion provides.
For sure. And then I saw that you have a few guys who are in the transfer portal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure, you have connections as well that are, becoming valuable for those guys. What are you seeing as you dive into some of those conversations, right? And what type of advice or support are you providing to your clients in that regard?
So yeah, that's difficult because what I think that people miss out on is me. I'm the private quarterback coach, so I kind of hear a little bit of information from they'll give me something. They don't tell me all of the details. And it's not because they're trying to hide stuff, but when you're younger, you just kind of skip over things. But I think like all the details of the conversations are important. So I've shied away from telling a kid, this is where I think you should go. Because I'm not the person who's got to live with that decision. I'll tell somebody like, hey, that's probably not a coach telling you the truth. I'll go to example, like there was a kid I have and a coach was telling him, like a head coach, right? You know how busy college head coaches are.
Yeah.
Starts telling him like he's going to be in every single quarterback meeting. He's been in every single quarterback meeting for the past 2 years. Well, he didn't know that I knew somebody on the roster. I text him like, "Yo, is this true?" And they're like, "Nah, he's lying." Right? And then I tell the kid immediately like, he's not telling you the truth. Right. This coach is lying. And those things, I try and vet out lies and tell him like, hey, he's starting out in a way that's dishonest with you. You should be careful. So I don't recommend as much in terms of where you should go. I just try to figure out as much information for the kid that I can on the back end.
Yeah. And then are you kind of doing that same thing for your high school clients, right? Because I think you're not training every day Jalen Hurts or a Justin Fields or a Josh Dobbs. You're training guys again, right? You put a few guys, 140 guys at the collegiate level, but some within Division II, Division I. But these guys are probably coming to you like, "Yo, Q, what's up with this? Is Division II offering the same money, or like, just how are you being realistic?" I think, and if I'm talking to anybody who's going to be super blunt about and
Yeah,
transparent about the process, it's you. But like, what types of conversations are you having with high school athletes as they seek out NIL opportunities and collegiate
some of the
opportunities?
guys I'm really honest, like you're not going to get any money.
Yeah,
I think that every kid thinks that they're about to make some money as a college athlete, and that's just not the case. It's a real world of have and have nots. There's even guys at Division I schools who really aren't making any money. You could be the backup,
right,
you're not really making no cheddar. In the
right,
SEC, like, yeah, there's a lot of teams who like everybody in the team's going to get around $30,000,
yeah,
which is helpful for sure. But everybody's not really making the money that they think they are, and they're seeing things like these on three. Here's what you're valued at.
the valuations are.
It's bullshit. Like
Yeah,
the things that these people are telling kids and having them hopeful and thinking that they're about to get is wild. I had a quarterback who was who was in the transfer portal valued at like $370,000. The offers that he got were nothing close to that, right?
right.
But his thought going in is like, do these schools value me
Yeah,
the same way? Because I'm not getting what they're telling me that I should get. It's all, but I'm like, nah. Listen, let's just take a step back here. You're worth what people are willing to pay you, and if no one has said you're $370, then you're just not worth 300. So don't get it. It's an open market. You'll get what you're supposed to get.
right. Yep. No, that's so true. That's so true. Market value is just, it's almost, I don't want to say non-existent, but a lot of these collectives, right, are kind of way inflating the price and the cost of some of these athletes, and then you have the evaluations that are out there, and just just wrong expectations from the athlete.
Well, you see something crazy like someone saying, "Hey, Ohio State's trying to pay Marvin Harrison
Yeah, I
25
was gonna
million."
say, how false of a rumor is that, right? When you talk about,
And I'm like, that couldn't be anything further from the truth. I know coaches on the staff. I know people in the collective. Like, it's just not what's going on.
there's no way to justify that either. Like, there's no, you shouldn't even, as a fan, you shouldn't even think that there's any legitimacy to that, because justifying that from an athletic department standpoint is stupid and hard to do. All right, like 20 million, 25 million to a college athlete. Like what's the justification there? And then for Marvin, I don't know, like the injury,
A
right?
college
Like,
wide receiver with no one to throw him the ball. Like, let's be
right,
clear. Like, there's so
right.
many things the matter with that picture that it just doesn't make sense. It was stupid on his face, and then when you really start to do any research, you know that it's dumber than
Yeah,
originally thought of.
yeah. I want to get into the college game and specifically quarterback play. So I'm gonna give you 6 names, Q. You tell me which one of these guys is the most NFL ready, right? Knowing what you know and why. So Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels, Heisman nominee Bo Nix, another nominee Michael Penix, Caleb Williams, Shador Sanders, or Drake May.
Who's the
Which one of these? Which one of these guys is the most NFL ready today?
go in, play an NFL game today, and be successful? Is that what we're asking me?
That's what I'm at. Not. I mean, you have 3 months of preparation, right?
Three
So
months of
not
preparation.
today.
Okay, yeah, that's different.
So,
3 months
so
of
you're going in
preparation.
September. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna take Caleb. If I get 3 months of preparation, can do the things that I need to do. I think that we've seen him do so many things, play Superman. If we can get
Yeah.
somebody to get him to do the regular things really, really well, because there's not a lot of people who can do what he can do in terms of arm strength, off platform, second reaction throws. It's very limited. But if he can understand how to play on time and do those things, tie his feet to his eyes and work through progressions, he's going to be special.
Sky's the limit. I think he has the it factor, right? When I think about people who have the it factor, I think guys like Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, um, Pat Mahomes, obviously, right? Which one of your guys would you say had the biggest it factor? And when I say it factor for people listening, I just mean you can get it done, and you just feel confident as hell that individual, that athlete's going to get the job done.
You know, so this year Deshaun played with a broken shoulder for a lot of it. but
Yeah.
there was never a time in his career that I ever felt like he wasn't going to be successful when his team
Right.
needed it, right? If there was a fourth quarter drive, he was probably going to score, right? If you needed him in the national championship to bring you down the field versus Alabama, he was going to do that. Did it 2 times in a row. Like every time that a situation called him to step up in the clutch, he had that it factor.
Yeah. No, I would pinpoint Deshaun as well. And then, do you think there's a dark horse that's out there right now within this next draft or the next 2 years of the draft that could be potentially the next Josh Allen or someone that's overlooked right now?
Yeah, I think that so the University of Minnesota just got a guy in the transfer portal. I think that he's the most accurate thrower of the football that I've ever met. He was
I seen Michael throw the ball these past few games, Penix,
very
and
accurate.
that
Very,
man could put a ball on a spot.
yeah, but this guy, I'm going to tell you, Max Brosmer out of UNH going to Minnesota, he's he's uniquely different. And I say that
Yeah,
I've seen him throw with NFL guys, and NFL guys come out like, hey, who the fuck is that? Right? Like, who
yeah,
is this dude throwing the football with us? Because he'll go a session and he just won't miss. He's that type of accurate. His arm is not like take your breath away strong, but he's someone who I think going through his senior season and this next draft cycle, I think people will be talking about him as a late first rounder, early second rounder.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah. And then on the flip side of that, Q, you've seen a bunch of guys come up through the quarterback rankings and journey. Was there one guy that you completely missed on, right? Besides myself, of like, yo, this guy has everything that he needs. He's gonna go be an all pro, but then eventually never pans out.
Oh, that never. Whew. You know, I'm probably the hardest to convince that somebody's going to be good. So I don't often think that someone's going to make it and they don't pan out.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that I'm I'm so difficult because I like to judge guys that I know as a person, right, and know them to have gone through things in difficult situations. What the biggest determining factor for me for a quarterback? There is a baseline level of talent that you need to hit at every level to be successful. High school, you can just be okay, but you can be really good in high school if you're just okay with the right stuff between your ears.
Right.
College, you need to be better, but there's some really not talented college quarterbacks who are still pretty successful. To me, like,
Athletes.
just like, okay, for example, I'm not making a knock on this quarterback. Sam Hartman to me is not someone who's physically gifted or physically talented. He gets the job done. He's a very successful college quarterback because he's a
Right.
tough guy. He's smart. He gets what he needs to do. But you got to be, I think, a little bit more talented than that to be successful in the NFL. Like he's going to be great, like a back, like he'll be in the NFL. But
Be a good
yeah,
backup.
but
Yeah.
so I'm not taking anything away from him. But there's a level of talent you need to be a starter in the NFL. So the guys to me who end up making it and being superstars, the guys that I know are just tough ass dudes, right? Like they're just tough. Like they can go through stuff when things get hard. They're able to make it. So I'll talk about the guy that I missed on, the guy that I knew was talented, wasn't sure he was going to make it is Kyler. Kyler Murray is someone I'm like, was he your Elite 11 class?
Yeah. I thought he had it, yo.
He
Like I was
he
like,
was the most talented there, and he did not give a fuck what anybody thought about him. Do you remember that?
right. So
Yes, but do you remember we had to
that's
carry those things that night where we were
yeah,
like,
he was on my I think
yeah,
yeah.
we were carrying those things, and he's like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm just not. Like, why would you have me do that? Like, I'm the smallest guy here. I'm not. And I'm like, I don't know how tough this guy is. I didn't take into account all the things he went through in high school, all those other things. And his attitude was really like, nah, my way's better than the way you guys are talking about. So that was what kind of threw me off the scent on Kyler. He's the one guy that I've missed on the other way. Like, I didn't think he'd be able to get it done, and he turned the corner and was in first pick.
That's just like an attitude though, right? Like he always had that. I'll tell a story. I don't even know if I want to tell it, but like essentially we was in the Under Armour game and he was on my team with DeAndre Johnson, originally Florida State. And then Blake Barnett, Sherrod Stidham, and somebody else was on the other team. But Kyler, we kind of rotated each quarter on playtime. And Kyler essentially went up to Coach Mariucci and was like, I'm playing, put me in. Like, I just want to play. Like, he was tough in that sense, Q. Like, he might have not been tough like I think it was just the way he grew up, and he was very, I think, coddled, right? Coming up through high school, having gone for like he had everything that anybody else could have wanted, and so he just kind of, I feel like he just had that mentality and that personality of just like I'm better than everybody, and I think that's taken him to where he is today. And sometimes that's not going to go over well in the locker rooms. It's not going to go over well with teammates, but he's been pretty successful.
Agreed. And you can be an asshole and be really good at football and be one of the best quarterbacks. You don't have to be like everybody doesn't have to love you. Right. And I think that sometimes people get that confused. You don't have to be loved.
Respect.
You just gotta be respect. You gotta do your job. Right? You gotta maximize you doing your job, being accountable, and everybody will get over it. Like, oh, he does his job, like cool.
Yeah. It's not for real. Cool, man. I'm closing out the conversation. My last question for you is, should interceptions, right? Should we start categorizing interceptions as not deemed the quarterback's fault, right? Like, how do we remedy this? Because tip balls, drop passes looks bad on the stat sheet, and then commentators and whoever else,
they just talk about the number.
Start about the number. They don't give any context. Can you be that guy?
I'm trying to. So I've started to watch every single interception every single week in the NFL. And I try to break down as many as I can and explain. Sometimes it is a quarterback's fault. Sometimes 100% on the QB.
Right.
But there's a lot of times when you watch a game and have it not knowing what the routes are, I know when somebody messes up, right? And I know when it's not the quarterback. So I'm trying to dive in that a little bit, doing that on socials, all the socials. And I think I'm going to turn it into more of a YouTube thing.
Yeah.
I'm working on getting the right producer to help me with the content.
I love that. That's going to be so good for people to go get context and not, right? It's going to be like, all right, go watch Quincy Avery's interception.
Yeah.
Before you start, you know what I mean? Like,
you're bad mouthing, but wait, just
I want Shannon Sharp. I want everybody to go watch that, before they get onto their show in the morning. But
yeah.
Where on socials can people find you, man? And what's next for QB Takeover? And what's next for you personally?
Just looking at Quincy Avery on all the socials. The next thing we got is our regional camps. We go to 8 different sites, try and get the best underclassmen quarterbacks that we can find, and we bring them to the finals in Atlanta, like a miniature version of Elite 11 for underclassmen. So that's what we got going on. Those camps are going to be February through March, and then I think we throw the coolest camp in the world, flight school. We get a bunch of the best college quarterbacks, NFL QBs. And they actually do drills with the guys, so I think that's unique to anywhere else.
Love it, man. Well, we'll stay tuned. We'll promote everything that you got going on. Q, thank you so much, my man, for joining the podcast. Everybody, thank you for joining this episode. Stay tuned for next week.
Appreciate you.
Love, man.